If you run ads or you post content, reply to every single effing comment on there and have a conversation with them and DM them. Start a conversation, and you will get way more scheduled appointments, leads, and closes if you just did that. Just do that. That should be your cold outreach.
Give it a little tappy tap. Do you want to use the mic? No.
Chuck, is that giving you what you need?
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I'm John Franklin, joined today with my co-host, Mateo Lopez, coming at you from a different background. And we have a very special guest today. He is the Prince of Gym Launch, the successor to Alex Hormozi. Cale, Owen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. That was an exceptional intro.
Is it the Prince or the Duke?
I think it's the Prince, right? Because if he was the king,
that would be succession. You're right.
He would have been the Prince, and now he is the king. He was the heir apparent, but now he is, I guess he's the ruler.
Now you are the overlord, the emperor.
Yeah, heavy as the crown.
After a savage coup.
Sure. All right. Before we like to start with hard-hitting questions here, all right? So I've seen a lot of your videos. Mm-hmm. And you're one of those people who, like, you could either be 5'6" or 6'2". How tall are you actually?
Dude, I love this question. I am way shorter than everyone thinks. I'm 5'9".
5'9". Okay.
It's still a lot taller than me, so that's fine.
All right. So you're in between. Okay. You're taller than Teo, shorter than me, somewhere right in the middle. But yeah.
Aren't you like 7 foot, John? Like you're like 7 feet tall.
Amazing.
Yes, John is actually 8 feet tall.
I'm pretty sure like height is correlated with income. So I should be way richer if I was 7 feet tall, you know? So I must be really under talented if I'm 7 foot and only earning what I'm earning. So, you know, I'm just waiting for the other foot of income to come in.
I love it.
So I'm sure there were plenty of people in the gym world, who wanted to work with Alex Hormozi, wanted to do what you are doing. What was it about you? What did he see in you? Why were you the Prince?
Sorry, I did not know that's where you're going with that question. I thought you were going to say there were tons of people who wanted to work with Alex Hormozi, but they got in too late and they ended up working with you. How does that make you feel? No. All right. No, your question is way better.
Well there's a new book, the $100 million. This is being recorded like right after the launch. And there is like a story that Alex Hormozi tells where he got DM'd by some guy that was like, I wanted to work for you. And then Cale reached out and fired me. And that was like the story in the book. So, so you were the henchman.
Yes, I was the guy. I was the, well, I guess I'll go back to the original question. The reason why is the last man standing. That's it. There were other people that were pegged before me, and they simply just did other things and went off and did other things. And one of the things I stood fast. It was something that I believed in. I had no vision of wanting to be the CEO or the prince or ruler, overlord, whatever you want to call it, of the Gym Launch ecosystem, but it just ended up that way, which is really cool. But for me, I just enjoyed the process. I enjoyed learning. I was like, every day I'm learning something new. I'm getting paid to learn a ton, and getting to sit next to Alex, obviously virtually, and work with him very closely for 2 straight years and just talking incessantly about everything. You get to learn a ton about just business and life and how his mind thinks and what he thinks about business, sales, influence, retention, you name it.
But you were a client first, right? Mm-hmm. You were a gym owner initially, and your gym was saved. Is that the story?
Yeah, man, terrible gym owner, dude. I was the normal gym owner. We were a CrossFit affiliate when we first started, and we were
one of us.
One of us. Yes. That was it. It's funny. My wife, before we met, she was the first coach for a local affiliate here that he ever hired. And she was big into it. I volunteered at the 2012. We both did at the 2012 games. We were there. We've been to multiple regionals. I love like the atmosphere, the community of CrossFit. I love the whole idea of it. I think some of it we can talk all we want about programming and all that stuff down the road. But from my standpoint, like we were just struggling. I just had no sales, no business acumen. Like it was terrible. And we were about to shut down 8 weeks from closing. Ended up joining Gym Launch. And then that turned our business around. When 8 months went from 33 to 250 members. And we ended up selling in 2019 and went all in on this. That's when my wife also got hired as the director of customer support. Leapfrogged me, actually. I was a lowly manager at that time. And she comes in day one, director level on the strat team. And I'm over here as a lowly manager, leapfrogged me. And I had to knock down some doors to see if I could get up to that level. I was stoked for her, actually. Like, legitimately, I was stoked. Like, she absolutely deserved it. So
He started waking up earlier and grinding harder.
Yeah, he did.
1,000% I
He
did.
kept giving her decaf coffee until he was the CEO.
Everything I could do to figure it out. I was like, no, this is not going to happen. No, she's an amazing human. Now she's basically our COO. So, which is cool.
What's that like working with your wife? Such close quarters.
It's amazing for me. I know a lot of people speak or have different stories, but for me, it's been amazing. We've also worked in the gym together. She ran operations in the gym. I'm more of the marketing sales guy on that side. And so we work really, really well together.
And you got a couple kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Got an 8 and a 5-year-old.
And are you homeschooling them? Because I think I heard somewhere you were homeschooled, right?
Yeah, I was the weirdo that was homeschooled my entire life. Yeah, my first class I ever went to was freshman year in college, but we are not homeschooling our kids as of right now. Whoa. So, yeah.
So you went the whole stretch.
Whole stretch, man. Not just a little bit, not just one section. It was the whole thing.
But you played sports.
Yes, I did.
So, okay.
I got the whole spectrum, right? I got friends on one end of the spectrum, like hardcore. Like, this is before homeschooling was more mainstream. I'm getting old here. So back then, I mean, I got the friends who were on one side of the, like, hardcore. We're not talking to anyone. Like, you can't watch TV. You can't do anything. We're going to do this. And I got the other side, which are my friends that played sports and public school and did drugs and did all this other stuff. So you got like I got both sides. And
so does your wife work at home as well?
Yeah, we do have an office, which is great. So I'm in the office right now. So we have an office that's right across the street from our kids' school, which is we've optimized our life really, really well, where we drop them off by parking in our parking lot and walking across a little side street, and it's right there. So she works here in the office, or we work from home if we want to, but typically we come in here.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty sick setup.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Can't complain.
I bought the house across the street from my house, and that's where Teo is right now. I just keep
office.
him in there. So I optimized my life.
Yeah, around me.
I love it.
It's perfect.
I love it.
So we talked about you being a gym owner, turning your gym around. I've heard rhetoric of there was like someone in the Gym Launch program who did like the program 3 times through in like 30 minutes and like quadrupled their gym. Were you that person, or is that another person?
No, that was somebody else. No.
Okay, so that was the guy you killed to take the spot and leapfrog over your wife.
100%. No, his actual name is Joey, and he was the kind of the next guy. I think that was pegged as the guy, and he's doing great. He's got his own gym still. He's still running kind of his own thing, and great human being, phenomenal operator. And yeah, well, I reported to him. We built a coaching team here back in 2019, and I reported to him and helped him build that coaching team.
So I wanted to ask about that because it sounds like you went from, and maybe I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it sounds like you went from being the sales team manager or head of the sales team, and then you moved over to the fulfillment side and managing some of the coaches, if that's right. And then, so I guess, what did you learn from that transition, moving from that sales role to the fulfillment side? And I guess, is there a difference in how you would lead those two teams?
You make that change when you suck at what you were doing before. So,
okay.
Yeah. So
then let me pivot. Then what were the lessons learned from sucking so bad as the head of sales?
Yeah. Like, if you can't maintain it, the reason why I got moved over is because I had other skills and I sucked at what I was currently doing. And, when I first came in, I started in sales first. So I didn't come in as a sales manager, started in sales, then 3 months later became sales manager. And the lessons that I learned over that time, I was very much focused on data, which is good. Everyone should be focused on the data. But me, I was way too far into that and way too much into, let's make sure the scripts are great. Let's make sure that we're doing the small things regarding the back end stuff really well, like tracking our data, doing all this stuff, rather than actually getting on calls, listening to recordings, and coaching them on sales. And I spent 20% of my time doing that, 80% on the other stuff. And what I should have been doing is just flip-flop that. I should have spent 80% of my time listening to game tape, hopping on one-on-ones, hopping in with them, doing actual like hand-to-hand combat sales training, and 20% on the other stuff. And It helps me now as a CEO understanding data because I really enjoy it and it's very easy and I can make decisions very, very fast. But it was a big lesson for me. One that I definitely worked on when I moved into the coaching manager role, then as a GM, and then now as a CEO. Spending more time with people. I'm preferably like more introverted. I'd prefer to just sit behind a desk and you show me the numbers and then I'll make a decision and let just go. But that's not how life works all the time.
So how did you change your mindset there? Because if you're very introverted, you're responsible for building all these teams and hiring, firing, and finding the right butts for the right seats. So how did you make that switch?
I went through about a month of just being really pissed off. Even though I was moving to the coaching manager position, I was just really pissed off that I failed. I'm not like, I hate, just like most people, but I genuinely hate failure. The way I work, I actually hate failure more than success, than I like success. Right. And so I like to move away from failure as fast as I possibly can and do everything I can in my life to not fail. And that's changed over the years. But during that time frame, that was me. And I sat back for about a month and was really introspective and reviewed where I was and why I failed, why I didn't do well. And I just made a commitment to myself that I would never do that again. And I said I would never fail because I was unwilling to meet with the people that I needed to coach them on what they needed to get and have the hard conversations that needed to be had. And I wouldn't be that guy again.
Chip on your shoulder. We've heard this before. We've done this on the podcast before. It could be a powerful motivator. All right, great. I love learning the origin story. That's great.
There's a story behind this that I feel like I need to know, but
no, just gotta watch a previous episode of Gym World Worldwide. That's all.
There's always a recurring theme, you know. Yeah. It's just not about balance, you know. If you want to rule the gym world, it's not about balance and stress-free living.
Never. F balance.
So you brought up failure, and you reached a similar conclusion to us with regards to gym management software. And that's when you talk to somebody who has basically any off-the-shelf gym management solution now, they hate it. And our thinking was they hate that one, they might as well hate ours. And so you recently wrote a thread talking about how the problem that you saw was that gym owners don't have the data necessary to run their gyms, which is something I agree with. But like some gym owner, like sitting in their office, you know, after working like a 18-hour shift and sleeping on the floor of the gym says like, easy for you to say with your private equity and your fancy dashboards and your big team and all of that.
In your office across the street from where you drop off your kids.
Yeah, with your fancy office.
My white privilege.
Yeah.
Just add to it, bro. Just keep adding to it.
Let's keep piling on. Good.
Just keep piling on.
And so what data does a gym owner need? Let's start there. And where do you think like the current solutions in the marketplace are failing people?
Well, I guess I'll start from the thread. I'll pull one thing out of that. So we built a dashboard just to track data. That's it. It's not sexy at all. It's just we built something for our clients to be able to use so that they could see the metrics that truly matter. And I'll get to those in just a second. There's quite a few that do matter. It's not as simple as what most people would think, but when you put them all together, it tells the true story of a gym. And you can dissect what's going wrong. You can identify what's going wrong and then really dive deeper and dissect the numbers and figuring out what actually is the problem and how do we fix it. And I'll go back one thing real quick on, I've learned this, but this became very real for me when I became the GM. And I was a GM and we built here at Gym Launch, and Alex tasked me with building the outbound. So going back to that story on the release, and he talked about, you know, I told the guy, hey, we're not hiring you because I was told that as well. And then we hired him, and then we were tasked with building out an outbound team. Well, at the time, we didn't have the ability to track the metrics that were needed to manage an inbound team and an outbound team at the same time, because there's multiple steps in the funnel. And when we started building it out, I realized that there are multiple steps. And by this time, there were actually 7 steps that needed to be tracked at all times. And if I didn't track them, I wouldn't know where the fall off was. And so what I did was I worked with our team and we did this out of Google Sheets. We still do a lot of stuff out of Google Sheets, even though we do $30 million plus a year. So like we're still doing it. We don't have the private equity, beautiful dashboards and all the reporting and stuff. So you could definitely run a very profitable business using Google Sheets if you want to. But I built it all through there with the help of our IT team. And it was just another reminder of, if you have the right information, you can make better decisions faster. And what led to that thread was, we built this reporting dashboard for our clients to help them make better decisions faster. And our goal was to be able to integrate with systems like Cale, like MyBody, all the others, right? And so we found it, and we found that we could only map no more than 30% of the metrics that matter from every single CRM that we checked into what we were doing. So we could only map 30% of our metrics that we track from a CRM. And that was a big eye opener for me, because I knew, like, we did tons of studies before we even went into the dashboard. I mean, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants and doing full reports and doing interviews and all this stuff. And I mean, we know that people hate their CRMs. Like, MindBody has a negative NPS score of 16. I don't even know how they're still around. Like, I just don't get it. But when I found that out, I was like, got it. This is a big hole in the industry. Like, this is why gym owners aren't successful. That's why I talked about the thread. But the metrics that matter, there's multiple things. So we break it up into really kind of 3 primary areas. One is acquisition. So you got your sales funnel. And none of this is revolutionary. You guys understand this. We got our sales funnels, so acquisition focused. Then we have our operational side of it. So we're talking about churn, we're talking about retention, cohort data, all those things. And then the next piece is just the general overall business metrics that matter. And what we've done is, in our dashboard, we've created a gym score that ties in all the most important pieces to give them a score rating on anywhere between 1 to 10. And there's decimals in there, so they get to stack and see where they're at. But our big thing is making sure we're tracking profit, tracking LTV, tracking churn across the board. But within, like, our funnel metrics, sales funnels, right? The biggest thing is, how many leads are you getting? What's your cost per lead? How many of those leads are scheduling? How many appointments are scheduled? How many of those schedules showed? How many closed? How much did you collect when you closed? What's the total cash amount that you collected when you closed? What is the actual CAC, so cost to acquire a client? And then what's our close percentage? What's all of those metrics that go along with that? It's not revolutionary, right? It's the same stuff that pretty much everyone should be tracking anyway, and yet no one seems to do that. Period. And one of the main problems is, most gym owners, you guys probably know this, most gym owners don't really run ads, or if they do, they don't spend enough, and they're boosting posts, or they're just kind of dicking around, and it's not really anything. And so when you're doing organic, it's kind of hard, or referrals, and you're working on word of mouth and referrals, you're like, I don't have ad spend, so like, I don't have a CAC. Well, of course you do. You're still working. Like, you still have to talk to people, you still have to do this. You still have to track your metrics. You still have to, how many referrals did I get this month? How many showed? How many did I actually close? Did I actually collect money on it? Like, where are we at? Like, it's funny. I was looking at your email, which I thought was a phenomenal email, John, by the way, that you sent out this past week. And it was talking about how the median gym in CrossFit gym charges $159. And like, I would argue that they don't actually collect $159. The average probably collects $120 on average. Like, their average client value is probably $120 with discounts. And I could be wrong, but like, I don't know if that was included in this, but it seems like with like family discounts, military discounts, and everything else, it's probably closer to like 120, 130.
So that information comes from the Two Brain State of the Industry. And so some of that is quantitative metrics. So that's coming from Push Press, Wodify, Team Up. And then other is qualitative. And so if that was a qualitative metric, that sample size is going to be smaller, and it's going to skew heavier to gyms that pay for mentorship. So I'm sure the average gym launch gym, the same way as the average Two Brain gym, does better than the average gym that isn't paying for business mentorship. And so, yeah, there was the guy we interviewed to kind of spur that conversation. He said he was in charge of all the Midwest affiliates, and he did a sample of his group, and he said it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 125 was the arm of, he called it his mastermind. So I think, yeah, that 120 to 130 range is dead on, and horrifying, because I think it's just way too low. In order to make that work, you need 200-300 members, which, is incredibly difficult to do, especially if you're not somebody who just like loves doing marketing and sales, which very few gym owners I've spoken with do.
Exactly. And you hit it. This is a great one. I also like how you talked about the require more space per member, because it goes back to that. If you are running a CrossFit gym, you got to do double unders, you're using a barbell, you're doing snatches and cleans. It all takes up too much space. And if you have 200 to 300 members, in order to become profitable, number one, that's a massive headache. Number two, if you're just doing that and you're charging 125 and you're trying to make a decent living based on the amount of time that you're putting in, it's literally impossible unless you have a 10,000 square foot facility. Like, you can't even do it. So it's frustrating. But anyways, back to the data. So arm, leg, I know that's a big one for, I know Two Brain talks about that a lot. Our thing is more LTV and CAC. That's what we kind of focus on more so, is like, what's the LTV to CAC ratio and cash flow. We really focus on cash flow. How much cash are you collecting? Because most gym owners, the reoccurring piece is the game. We want to try to make sure that your reoccurring revenue is not only covering all of your expenses, that includes your pay, but also extra profit every single month. And then every time you're adding new clients, you're collecting cash flow immediately, because in order to maintain marketing and not have to dip into the bank or the well, you want to make sure that you're collecting enough cash up front, which means you need to have a great offer. It means that you need to be fairly decent at sales. You don't have to be amazing, but you need to be fairly decent at sales or trained in it. And you need to have a great experience and provide a great experience for your clients in order to keep them.
I think part of the issue too with tracking the data, you're tracking conversions from front end offers. You're trying to track all these different points along the funnel. In our industry, people change offers so frequently to try and stand out. And so, and everyone's, funnel or hook is so different. Some do free trials. Some do low barrier offers. Some do high ticket right out of the gate. Some do this, some do that. And so, and everyone's always changing it up so frequently because, like I said, they're trying to stay fresh. They're trying to say, okay, here's a 6-week challenge. No, here's a 90-day challenge. It's different than my 6-week challenge I did like 3 months ago. So I think that's one of the challenges to trying to keep track of this stuff, because people bounce around so much.
And in CrossFit, especially because of the onboarding, right? Like it became commonplace to start with PT, right? I think that was probably, you said you sold in 2019. Well,
dude, yeah, I did it. I was Mad Lab.
You're right.
Gym.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So we did. So that's a perfect example.
One of us.
Oh, yeah, bro. Like I'm an OG. I was in Vancouver, man. I went to Vancouver. Like I went the whole distance, bro. Oh yeah.
Right. So Guru A will say you need to start with 6 PT sessions and then roll them into group. And then Guru B will say, I mean, we already doxed them. You need like 60 PT sessions, and that's the only way you can keep a client. And then like someone else will change to a different program. They'll move from 5 to 7. And the amount of time it takes to move through those will affect the data reported on the gym management side. So it just leads to these really complex edge cases where it's like, how do you actually calculate these things properly, or expect a gym owner to, when the the parameters change so frequently?
Yeah. So I think we need to solve for the averages first and the highest percentages. Like, what's the thing that's going to happen the most? And so MATLAB's a perfect example. And you said we doxed them, but like, that's a great model for specific styles of gyms with a specific goal. But for the average gym, in my opinion, no, because it's proven that it doesn't. However, there are lots of gyms that are very, very successful with that model. But at Gym Launch, we solve for the average gym, because that's the highest majority of people are going to fit within the averages in the bell curve. And if we can affect that and move that forward, then we're going to be able to make a bigger change in the industry and help more gym owners reach more people, change more lives, and build wildly profitable businesses. And so when it comes to the data, what we figured out is really all front-end offers come down to really, it's basically known as a trial. That's it. How you name the trial doesn't really matter, but it's a trial because they're not a reoccurring member yet. And then you have reoccurring members. So it could be an EFT, however you want to name it. But if you have a trial member, you're typically going to have a conversion point in the journey. And so how do we track that? Well, there needs to either be a meeting or some other benchmark that needs to be hit in order to convert that person, however you want to do it, right? And so when we're building our side, our GMS, it's trying to keep it as simple as possible, as broad as possible, because with our clients, right, they run 6-week challenges, right? They run 6-week or they run a 28-day, and there's a conversion metric that has to happen at a certain point. And they need to track that. That needs to be tracked, because if you sign someone up on a trial and my goal is to convert them, I need to know how many people did I sign up on the trial, how many people are actually making it to that conversion point, and how many are being converted, and how many fell off in between, because that tells me how successful this actual trial is, let alone the front end metrics of did it get leads, did I get people to show, and could I actually get them into the trial? But once they're in, can I actually make this a viable option to keep growing my business so that I can build my reoccurring revenue, which is the goal for, I think, every gym owner. So to do that, it's just great. We need to build in conversion metrics around that. So how do we track that? Well, we need to make sure that, cool, you sign up X people, a conversion metric, how many are scheduled, how many showed, how many closed. Then we can figure out what they closed into. It doesn't really matter. It could be a high ticket, it could be whatever. But I think the hardest part, and you guys are probably seeing this on your side, is training people and really changing behavior through software. And that's the piece for us. That's the hardest part.
So speaking of Gym Launch, we were never clients, but we certainly had clients that were clients. So we've pieced some things together, and you kind of alluded to this just now, but it seemed like back in the day, it was a curriculum around how to build ads around a particular offer and how to manage, a shit ton of leads you would get as a result of advertising that offer, and then what to do next, right? How to nurture them, how to sell them, how to handle objections. So as time has gone on, it seems like other things have been added to the curriculum. Your approach to coaching has changed. So how has your service and coaching and the way you work with gyms evolved over time?
Yeah, we were for a really long time a one-trick pony, a really, really profitable one-trick pony that would make gyms lots and lots of money. And our old school program, Legacy, which was a longer program, was focused much more on the operations, because we know that retention is the most important thing for a gym. We know, you need to be retaining your clients, because when you get to a certain point, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't provide an exceptional experience and keep your clients, your gym's going to suck. It's not going to grow. But no one likes to hear that. No one likes to talk about churn. No one likes to talk about churn. It's not sexy. Everyone wants more leads. They think leads are going to fix their business and save them. They think they're going to have better sex if they get more leads. They think they're going to look better and be in better shape and lift heavier weights if they get more leads. It's going to solve all their problems. But it doesn't, because
and that's true.
Flood. It's just, I know. Oh my gosh. It's
podcast is done.
Right? That's it. So it's like, Mateo, cool. You have a gym. I give you 1,000 leads. What are you going to do with it? If you don't know how to get them to show up, and you don't know how to close them, and you don't know how to keep them, then you just hate me because I gave you 1,000 leads. So for us, what we did is we turned it in from just a kind of a program that's built around one offer to building something that is built on a playbook. And because we have so much data. And what we figured out is that just like a great football team, do you guys watch football? Do you guys have a favorite team?
John's looking at me because he knows that I don't watch sports, and he knows I don't know the names of the ball foot people. Okay. He knows that I don't know. And that's why he called on me first. But you know what?
They have that quarterback show on Netflix. I thought for sure you watched that and was going to hit him with Patrick Mahomes or something like that. Kansas. Teo loves Kansas City.
I love Friday Night Lights. I loved, Coach Eric Taylor. I love that show on NBC. It was a great show. You had Michael B. Jordan at the later seasons, so that's about as far as my football goes, though. I'm sorry to say.
That's okay. John, how about you?
I would say I'm a Dolphins fan. Just because you got to stay close, you got to keep it close to home.
I like it. I'm a Bucs fan, so it's all good. We're missing Brady. Anyways, back to this. So every great football team and football coach specifically, they give playbooks, right? They have a playbook, and what they do is the coaches train them on these plays, and they make sure that these plays are well written and that the team understands how to do them, and then they give them the play at the point in the game which they believe will give them the highest amount of success and get them towards their goal. And what we've done is created a playbook for gym owners that has a whole bunch of different plays. We've got different front end offers. We've got different ways to get them, not just paid ads. You got organic. You've got lots of SEO, Google, whatever. You got all these things. Then you got internal plays. You've got upsells with semi-private. You've got hiring. You've got firing. You've got onboarding. All these different things. Every aspect of the business. And we've created the playbook. And based on where the gym owner is, their coach will walk them through and show them, cool, now is the time we run this play. And here's how you run this play. And we have training to back it up. Plus they talk with the coach, and then we have all the other stuff involved. So we've gone from much more of just everyone focusing on just front end challenges to a more holistic, full business view and coaching program.
Right. Because the thing that put Gym Launch on the map and just kind of blew you guys up was the free 6-week challenge, right? At a time when I think, did you ever run a New You challenge at your gym?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for the people who started after, I guess they probably disappeared around 2017-ish. This was they would run the ads for you. And at the time, I think Facebook ads were probably 50 cents to $1.50, going all the way up to maybe $2.50 in some of the most expensive markets. And it was just, the volume of leads was insane. And so they would, you'd run this challenge and 200 people would show up ready to take it, and it would literally just break gyms. And then it started to slow down a little bit. And then I think what time did Alex start? When did he start with the actual, we'll show you how to do it? I think.
Yeah, he started flying out to gyms. He did 33 gyms in 2016 and early 2017. Stopped it early, mid, March, I think. February, March 2017, and then started his program of I'll teach you how to do it. So Launch 2.0 basically. And that was April of 2017.
So it was like right around the time those guys disappeared, where ad costs were getting so high that it no longer made sense.
It's so high,
I don't.
dude.
It was they took like
cost,
what? Yeah,
it's not even high. My lead cost in like May and June of 2017 was like $150. So,
but I think at the time they relied on the gym owner to close, right? And then eventually they pivoted to like a call center, and because the gyms weren't calling any of the leads or like trying to steal from them, I think that was how that all played out. But yeah, they were. I think it was like $150 to $200 for the challenge, and they split it 50-50, or they took 60%, something along those lines. And then when lead costs started to get expensive, they took 100%. So then they ran into like the gym owners were, hey, just charge back and we'll, give us half. And that started happening. And then they just then they're like, we'll do it for ourselves. And then they disappear. And so I think it was at this like perfect time in the market where all the CrossFit gym owners were like, well, shit, like, we had this thing that worked. And when so many CrossFits at the time were that was what they relied on. That was what they did. It was just, oh yeah, I'll just do new challenges forever. And then, so 100 members leave out of the 150 I have, we'll just do another one. No problem. And then when they disappeared and the ad cost doubled, like, I think that was just like a rocket ship. And I don't know, he was pretty public about the numbers, right? Didn't they do like 16 million the first year or something crazy like that?
I think they did. So 2017, so not a full year. I think 2017 they did like 10 million and then did 20 something million the next year. But he pulled out in 18 months, 16 or 18 months. He pulled out after writing a whole bunch off. And I remember seeing it. Like he pulled out 17 mil and from the business in 18 months. And I mean, smashed.
And that was, yeah. And kudos to him for that. But that was one of the more like, it was controversial at the time, right? I think you'd hear one of two things from gym owners. Thing one would just be, hey, this thing saved my gym, or hey, gym launch is a scam, right? Like it was very, very polarizing, which I think also served him pretty well because everyone was talking about it. But now, from what I understand, there's just a lot more, there's a lot, it's a more holistic approach to acquisition, right?
Yes. Without a doubt. I mean, still, like whenever, because we go by data, still the best one so far, it doesn't matter. Like it's still ads. Ads are still getting the lowest CAC.
That was my next question. Is 6-week challenge still the best play? Because I in our experience with guests we've had on, like we know many people who still run this very effectively in other versions, but it's essentially the same thing.
So we get 60,000 leads a month for the gyms that we work with. And the majority of those are coming in. So the vast majority, so like 95% of those are coming in from 6-week challenges. And I wish it was not the best offer. I wish literally like we have a full R&D team. Like I wish it was dead. Like, trust me, I'd love a new one because I'm the marketer. Like I love new stuff. Like let's test new stuff. We're always testing new stuff. And yet it still doesn't beat the 6-week challenge. And I wish it was different. At some point we're going to keep testing, but we have other offers on deck. Like there's a good 8-week that works really well. There's a really interesting 14-day play for semi-privates that works really, really well. But the majority we play for the averages, like the average gym owner, the 6-week works because you collect enough cash up front, you get low enough CAC, and you can make at minimum 3.5 to 4 to 1 day one when someone signs up. And it's hard not to grow with that.
We've tried so many times and I don't know, you guys probably suffer from the same thing on the, that we did on the Two Brain front where you have someone that's working wonderfully and then they just, it goes from making 5 to 1 to 4 to 1. They're like, oh, it's broken. And they want to try something completely different and change all the variables and then take it from 4 to 1 to -1 to 1.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, if you look at some of the old material, like people have been running 6-week plays from the earliest one I could dig up was like early 60s was like a 6-week challenge fitness play. And so it's literally been working for like 60 years now. So
it's going to keep working. Like as long as humans want to look better naked and they keep getting fatter, like it's going to keep working.
Hey everyone, it's your friend Matteo here. Sorry to interrupt. Pretty good episode so far, I think. Cale, Owen, pretty sweet guest. I must say. But I do have to interrupt because we do have a sponsor for this week's episode, and once again, it is Cale. And so this week, what they did was they didn't send me a script to read from, and they didn't send me a funny commercial or skit. They actually just said, hey, just write a song for this week and sing it for everyone in the middle of the episode. And so that's what I have to do today for you all here. They gave me about 3 hours notice, so I had to set this up. I had to learn piano pretty quickly, and this is probably the first song I've ever written. So feel free to skip this part. You can just hit that skippy skip button. And then on YouTube, you can just see the sections. They're labeled clearly. You can just skip ahead of this one. But please don't, because that would really hurt my feelings. I worked really hard on this, and so I hope you enjoy. So here it is, this week's sponsor, Cale, and here is the Cale song. Do you need a new website or more leads to sell? Well, Cale's here to save you from gym owner hell. With Cale's magic websites, I think you will find success and massive profits all come intertwined. We've got marketing automations that will help you thrive. With Cale, your business will come alive. We've got the best support team that will treat you with care. So please give us some money, it's only fair. Cale, we're the best software. You'll watch your competition scream, it's not fair. So come on, gym owner, and sign up now. We'll make you tons of money, come, we'll show you how. But wait, there's more. Our offer wouldn't be complete without your management system that's just so sweet. Just sign up new clients and we'll take care of the rest. Just please don't sign up with those guys at fucking Push. Cale, we're the best software. You'll watch your competition scream, it's not fair. So come on, gym owner, and sign up now. We'll make you tons of money, come, we'll show you how. This next part's written by ChatGPT, so please forgive me if it sounds out of key. In the digital world, we're just here to guide. So let your dreams take flight. With Cale by your motherfucking side. Sign up with Cale is easy. Just go to usecale.com and book your sales call today. Cale, we're the best software. You'll watch your competition scream, it's not fair. So come on, gym owner, and sign up now. We'll make you tons of money, come, we'll show you.
One of the things that I think has been that I think you guys have changed your tune about publicly is creating content, right? So Alex has kind of like rocketed out of the gym world and is now like a general business guru, and he's massive. I think he probably has like an aggregate following of in the 3 to 6 million range, somewhere in there. And I know you create a lot of content. You're all over the place as well. Like, how do you feel? Like, how should gym owners be thinking about content?
They shouldn't. I don't think we've changed our tune at Gym Launch. Alex has, because he's in a position to do it. I don't think gym owners should spend a ton of time unless they want to build something long term. But here's the problem: if they're the one building, here's the thing: you got to figure out what you want. As a gym owner, if you want to build a sellable asset, then you need to be really careful what you're promoting and how you're running your business. If you're the face of your business, good luck. You could get to $1 million. I've seen this multiple times. You get to making $1 million with 30, 40% net margins, and you can't sell it because someone can't buy it because you're the face of your gym. So good luck ever selling it. Now, there's people out there, there's gym owners like they're, oh, boo-hoo, woe is me. Like, I've got $1 million gym. But at some point, like when you get to that level, there's always another level.
Says the guy running a company that was run by, an icon type person who sold for, I think, what did he take? 48 million?
Yeah, 46 and a half.
Yeah, so you can figure it out. You can teach them. You got some lessons in the backlog there. You could probably teach it. It seems like that worked out all right for you guys.
So I think there's lessons in there, but I don't think following the exact script is the best way, because to be real, most gym owners don't have anything good to say and they're not great with content. And they would just get lost in the shuffle. And I'm talking about time and attention here. You get a higher ROI on your attention and your time if you focused on things that would actually make you money, rather than making content that frankly is mediocre at best, that won't get views, and you're just doing work just to feel like you're doing work. If you're great on camera and you're funny and you're crazy and you are great at drawing a line in the sand and being very polarizing, by all means do it. But you should also be doing the other stuff, which means you have to work twice as hard. And to be frank, I don't know a lot of gym owners or business owners, period, that want to work 2 to 3 times harder than they currently are. So they're already working 60 hours a week on average. So add in another 15 hours of content plus editing, because they can't afford an editor, and the camera setups and all that other stuff. And then the planning, I have a whole team that plans for me and gives me topics and I just riff on them. And I have an editing team. And so I have to build out my own scripts for all of my YouTube stuff, or build out the ideas and the stories behind it. But at the same time, it's expensive and it's time consuming. And I don't think it's the best use of time for gym owners.
Do they give you sets? Are they like, yo, go to the golf course and do 50 vertical videos, or sit on the back of your truck and just throw out a bunch of them?
No, those are the old ones. The stuff I do sitting here does way better than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, the golf one was my favorite. Definitely my favorite.
Teo actually made a golf course ad. He was just so inspired from it. I don't know if you've seen it before.
It's true.
I haven't seen it. I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, we should have queued it up for this opportunity, but we'll send it to you after the show. I
would love to see it.
That is interesting, because we have had a lot of people on who've done very well, putting out, their strategy is just organic content nonstop and getting on camera and getting on Instagram and posting and posting and posting. Now, it's all time that, we probably spend on ads. We spent that same kind of dedication on ads. So it is just, I think, maybe just a different route. But I guess the point there is you pick a lane and then stick to it. And as I've heard you say on here, you have to do the boring stuff over and over and over. If you're going to be a content icon, you have to post over and over and over and over and over. And if you're going to rely on Facebook ads, then you have to call your leads over and over and over and over and over. So I guess, yeah, it's just 2 ways to go.
Or three. You could do both. Do both. It's totally possible to do both, but that's the exception to the rule, in my opinion, from what I found. And I think as business owners, as humans, we like to believe we're the exception to the rule. And that's where people get frustrated. They're like, I've got this one person who's telling me, this one guru who's telling me I should do content and cold DMs, and that's the only way to do it to build my business, when he's the one that did it, and he's got 2 other testimonials of people that did it. So it's this will all work for everyone. And it's no, it's not for the average. The easiest way to get eyeballs and the cheapest way to get eyeballs with the least amount of skill needed is ads still today. So the average gym owner can go on with the right offer and start making money right now. But if you start posting content, you can post content for years. And you might it's going to take maybe a month. Depends on how good you are. It could take a month. It could take 10 years. You just don't know. But you get immediate feedback if you're running ads and you're doing that. That's why we like it.
So speaking of, then, how do you coach gym owners that are so broke that they can't spend a single dollar on ads?
We run a play we have a cash play that we can run with their current clients to get enough cash to get them going on ads. And then with the client finance acquisition model that we run, when you're you're paying, let's say $150, that's more than what it is now, but let's just say it's $150. Our average CAC right now is 118. If your average CAC is $150 to acquire a client and you're collecting $599, it becomes really easy to not run out of money on the front end for marketing. Our biggest thing is like no business should need a marketing budget. Like you should. It's just like, cool. As long as we're acquiring clients at a profit, like let's go. Day one. Let's do it.
And so it's the biggest thing you're facing is like fighting the psychology. Like we find a lot of people feel like it's, I can't charge that much, or everybody in my market's charging 125 for CrossFit. How would I ever?
I've already done the 6-week challenge here. I can't run it again.
Ads do not work for me.
Yeah. It's always belief breaking. No matter what. It's pretty easy to go about attacking all of those and replacing them with a better belief. But at the end of the day, for many of them, we can show them all the social proof we want. We've got thousands of testimonials and we could show them that. But at the end of the day, for many of them, they still have to take the leap no matter what. And I mean, it's funny. I talk about it with Alex sometimes. We wish back in the day, and he wishes like we could have gone back and just made a corporate run, like not a franchise, but a corporate run gym franchise in a sense where it's all corporately owned. And we just did it. This Gym Launch would be way bigger. We wouldn't be called Gym Launch, but it'd be way bigger because we have all the data and we could run it ourselves and operate it, but we can't, which is also really cool. We get to work with amazing gym owners around the world and help break beliefs and literally change their lives. Like I was just talking to someone today and we were doing a coaching call with them, and they went from barely scraping by $2,000 a month in profit, which went back into the gym. It's profit, but went back into the gym to try to do it. They just cleared $20,000 3 months later after starting with us. And their top line isn't excessive. They did 30K and they're clearing 20. So like they're set up really, really well, but now they're in a position where they need to hire a couple people to not spend as much time in the gym and get to 50, 60K in the next couple months. But they got 2-3 kids and it's cool. Like they've been grinding for 9 years.
We've been seeing a lot more of that where like it's like the semi-private training. We just had Rick Mayo of Alloy on and he's amazing. Amazing. Awesome. And, the goal for those guys is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 50 in top line, and they can run like 30 to 40 directly to the bottom line, these little submarines, and just rinse and repeat. And you get a much better multiple on that than you would a coaching biz. That's for sure.
100%. I would highly suggest if anyone's listening to this and you want to start a gym, his system is by far the most scalable and the easiest to run, by far.
I had literally the exact same thought. It was just like, if I was starting over from scratch, like this guy figured it out. It took him 20 something years, but like, I was like, I agree with literally everything this guy is saying. And that it's crazy.
Yep.
Rick, you can send the check to Jupiter, Florida, when you get
you can split that in half because you also got the gym launch. You got the gym launch okay for me. So you could just send it to St. Augustine and Jupiter. So.
Yeah, that's it. 2 nice testimonials. Mm-hmm. So speaking of like bigger markets, one of the things that I've noticed that has changed in some of the verbiage you guys use, it looks like you're targeting more like health clubs than you have in past. And just in terms of some of the content you're putting out, you're interviewing a lot of like people that are more enterprise. I think you talk with like some of the big wigs at Orange Theory and larger gym chains like that. What's the reasoning and the thinking behind that shift?
Larger TAM, like larger total addressable market. I mean, health clubs have their own problems and we're finding no one is helping them solve those problems. And business is business. They can be dressed in a different way, but their problems are still problems and we know how to solve them. So we have experience in the health club space and we think that we can help them. So
it's crazy that the software over there is completely different too. Like the massive software companies, never even heard of them before, and
they're terrible.
Yeah, I've seen some sketchy ones.
You were talking about like you don't know how MindBody is so big, and it's crazy to us. With Cale, we work with other business mentorship groups, and we partner with them, and like it's MindBody runs the show. Like CrossFit is well served from gym management. There are like a lot of people innovating, trying hard, making super bespoke solutions for such a like tiny niche. And what's crazy is like, I don't think so many gym owners know this, like the some gym management software companies make more money off of the payment processing than they do from the fees. So not only does MindBody have like juicy software fees, like it's expensive to use MindBody, you're also paying super high processing fees. And granted, like the software is really good, but MindBody makes an absolute killing on payment processing.
60% of the revenue generated in the gym management system world ecosystem, 60% comes from payment processing. So the majority of money from all gym management systems, 60% comes on average across the entire TAM, total addressable market of GMSs. It all comes from 60% comes from processing, which is nuts. And nobody looks at that. Like nobody.
It's a hidden fee, and it's and so it's crazy to think about. Like you'll get gym owners freaking out over, Zen Planner raised their prices by $15. It's like, yeah, but they've been ripping you off for 1% of every dollar, for the 10 years you've been in business. And so that doesn't seem to bother you. So a lot of people, like in the rumor mill, I've heard multiple times like, oh, when Hormozi left, I think Gym Launch is struggling, or I think Gym Launch doesn't do as well because he's not there anymore.
House of Cards was thrown around for a while by a lot of people.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I did hear that. Yes.
So like someone within Two Brain works with Seventh Level, which I think is a sales agency some of your guys work with. And so like back channel through there, I'm like, I think they're doing I think they're doing pretty well. And then in a video that you put up, I don't know when it was, but you said you're up like 57% year over year off of 20. Is that off of 2022 numbers?
Yeah, that's off 2022 numbers, which was up 40% from the year before.
Coming off of, that would be 2021, and then COVID was probably,
2020 was our worst year ever. And then we came back up in 2021 and then 2022 and then this year.
And so when you pivoted away from kind of the original, like, here's how to run a free 6-week challenge, like how long do you think it took you to like rebuild?
Oh man. So when I became, this is an interesting story. When I became like GM, it was 2 years because I became GM in 2020 and we wanted to try to create something different. We needed to take Alex out of being the face because he wanted to sell. And he and Layla wanted to, and that was the plan. So that's where I came in, and the goal was to move him out. Then COVID hit, and then he came in a little bit, but not much. Like it was like, hey, you got to be able to save this and run this. So I think it really started back then in 2020, but 2020 threw a wrench into everyone's plans, and it was really about survival. It's like for everyone. And then 2021 came around and we were really focused on the acquisition. We're meeting with private equity firms. We're going through due diligence. That was a big focus, and just maintain, like when you go through that process, you can't rock the boat. You can't implement new things. Just stay the same. Just keep growing, keep doing, don't change anything. And then 2022 comes around and I became the CEO in 2021, December 24th, Christmas Eve. And then we're running this play, and our offer at the time was a 16-week or 20-week offer. And I started looking at the data in Q1, and I was like, this isn't the best offer for our gym owners. This isn't it. Like, this is not the best. It's not getting the best results. We have another program back here that we've been beta testing for a while that's way better. We need to move this to the front. And so the very first full quarterly meeting that we have for our boards in Q2 in 2022, they're like, hey, I go to them and I'm like, hey, we need to scrap what we're doing, what you bought us for, and we need to go into this. Oh, and by the way, when we go into this, our revenue is going to dip for the next 3 months, but then it'll come back up and we'll be higher than where we were. And shout out to APG and the amazing team over there. I cannot believe they let me do it, but I showed them enough data. I brought all the reasons why. I had a lot of data around it, and they had a lot of questions, as they should, but they trusted me. They trusted our team, and we did that, and it did exactly what I said it was going to do. And that helps a ton, because when it does that, I'm like, sit back, I'm like, whew, okay, great. It did. Right.
Putting
I was
the
right.
job on the line right out the gate.
100%. Like it actually was. I mean, it really was. If it didn't work, like I'm screwed. So it worked.
But your
really
wife
well.
Still got that paycheck. So you can
I'm gonna go play golf. I'm just gonna go play golf. But it worked out really well. But I think 2020 is when it really started. We were looking at ways that we can diversify how we're doing things and prepare, and that was the goal.
So as you guys pivoted and rebuilt and grew again, how do you find, and these are your words, I believe, how do you find your 9s and 10s in terms of staff? And then from what you've learned working, CEO of Gym Launch, how do you coach gym owners to find their own 9s and 10s?
Yeah, it's a great question. Man, I have historically been the worst at like hiring people. What I found is that many times in the gym industry, we have this belief, at least in the gym coaching space, that we have this belief that we need to hire within the space. And that's an utter lie. Like, you don't need to. What you're looking for are the values and the characteristics that you want, as well as the skill sets that you need to be successful, and a track record of people having done this before. I no longer want to hire people that I can train and bring on and teach them how to do something. I need to hire Teslas that have the newest edition of full self-driving. Batteries included, and they can self-drive. At this stage in the game for us, like, we're not a startup. Like, we're trying to build for a big exit. We need people that have done this before and really good. Now, we're different than a gym. So a gym, we treat as a startup where you really do need to pour a lot more time into training and onboarding the right people, because most gyms don't have the cash flow. They're barely making money themselves, which means they probably shouldn't go hire. So a lot of that is part-time work, part-time trainers. But what we teach them is really focusing a lot on the character traits and the values that person has. Coaching a class is really, really easy, like really easy. It's a low skill job, in my opinion. And a lot of gym owners may hate this and go back, totally cool with it. Even in CrossFit, I would still argue it is very low skill, meaning I can take an average person, I can walk them through a 90-day training program, and I could get them to coach a pretty exceptional class as long as they are happy, smile, and can talk to people. I can take anyone with no skill set background and get them to coach a session. And with that said, most gym owners, though, are in a place where they're not making enough money and they're tired and exhausted, where they'll take anyone to save them, so that they're just like, cool, you're happy, you're smiling, you have gone a weekend and got an L1 cert, you've trained for 3 months, go hop on the floor, you can coach my sessions. And it's like, no, it's not how it works. There needs to be a process. You need to make sure that anyone that comes in contact, not physically, but comes in contact with your members, is backed by you and has been trained by you. And so we spend a lot more of our time with our gym owners to focus on finding the people with the right character traits that you can then spend time with, build rapport, train them on the skill sets that you need, train them on your system. And usually that takes about, for a real good trainer, if you want someone, unless they're coming in batteries included, it's going to take 90 days minimum. And then you still have to verify that they're doing what they need to do. And you got to keep pouring in. I know for me, when I was in my phase of growing our training program, every Thursday night or every Saturday night, depending on the time frame, I spent 2 hours with my coaches, and we went 2 hours into literally, here's how you communicate in a class. Here's how you talk to our clients. Here's how you use words to change behavior and movement, rather than you always having to put your hands on them, or just trying to show them how to do it, knowing full well that they can't do a snatch, right? So that's what we tell our gym owners, pretty much. And then we help them with it.
Okay, you're looking for the traits and the values and but how do you search for that? How do you filter for that? Is it through the questions you ask in interviews? Is it, the job posting itself? Is it during that 90-day period? How do you find that?
Yeah. So in the beginning stages, when you're doing it, you have your normal questions that you're going to ask to try to figure out how they would act in a certain scenario. But the biggest thing that I think most people miss, and this is the basics, and great people, like great businesses, they never don't do the basics, and that is ask for references and actually check. Like, check your references. It's so basic, but so many people miss it. Also, do background checks. I don't know if we have a podcast that should be coming out with our GM at Gym Launch, Mike, incredible guy. His gym actually hired someone. They didn't do a background check. Turns out the person had multiple warrants out for them, and super nice person, but come to find out, couldn't be there. So do the basic things that most people overlook. And
classic.
We could have done a couple of background checks if we could go back again, right, John? We should probably have done a couple, ran a couple of those.
Yeah, this would have been worth a $50,000 price of admission if we knew that when we got started.
Right? It's just those basics. I think we overlook it. We think we're the exception to the rule, and there's a reason. There's a lot of times gym owners get into the business. They're like, I don't want to be like corporate America. Well, there's a reason businesses in corporate America are super successful. It's because they have standard operating procedures, and they have their checks and balances. And it's on a spectrum. You don't have to be as strict as some of them, but they have them for a reason. to not only protect themselves, but protect their employees. And by doing that correctly, then when you're onboarding them is just making sure that you have it all written out and making sure that every step of the way during however long your onboarding process, mine was 90 days, every day and every week you have expectations for them. And then you have checkpoints along the way to make sure that they're actually moving forward with their progress and meeting the standards that they need to.
When we're recording this is probably 10 days after Alex did the big reveal of $100 million leads. He's released like some public stuff. I think 500,000 people watched. Like, how does that impact Gym Launch? Like when he does something like that, do your sales just go and like blow up your team?
No, they go down. They go the opposite way. We get fished like crazy.
What?
Oh my gosh, it's the worst, dude. We got our show rates to our screening calls dropped by 75% because you just get a whole bunch of people that are just spamming our stuff and they're just checking it out and going through, trying to funnel hack. They just heard about Alex and he talked about Gym Launch and they're just trying to like go through and they're setting appointments and we get screwed. That happens every time. We've gotten used to it, but it also happens every time we start if we make a new offer. So like I'm thinking about a new offer and if I want to run it, I know that the first 3 weeks are just going to be, we're going to get just slammed with people checking us out because it is what it is. So
new offer being like for Gym Launch. So testing a new like front end thing, like take this course, gym owners, or here's a lead magnet or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As soon as I drop a new lead magnet, like our best one so far, it's been running for almost 18 months, is that 7 money models. And it's when I first dropped it, the first 3 weeks were it was horrendous. But I knew that it was going to be successful because of how much attention it was getting and it was sustained.
How many gurus are there? I mean, like if every guru in the fitness industry opted in, like how many they can't, or is it just like there's so much, like Alex has transcended fitness. So you get gurus from every industry coming in and.
No, that's it. It's
so
because
all like the e-com guys and the plumbing gurus and just come and break all your shit and ruin the lives of your sales team.
Yeah. It's
Sounds
okay,
awesome.
It's a cool, I'm okay paying that. I'm literally okay paying that price though. It is what it is because it's the price for admission. So.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. We had Pete Dupuis on the show and he's the business guy for Eric Cressy. You're a baseball guy. So you probably know.
I love that guy.
Yeah. You probably know who Eric Cressy is and you're a Floridian. So,
he's right in your backyard. Does he still have his Jupiter location? They moved down from Boston or? Okay, cool.
They have 2 locations. So the town, so talk about like having an awesome niche. Like he was just like the town gave him like a sweetheart deal to move him down here because they thought more teams would come for like spring training, bring more pro athletes to the area. So like he has like an insane facility down by us. But he recently did the Tim Ferriss podcast. And so I asked like, hey, Pete, and like their business systems for being such a successful gym are like crazy. Like you want to talk about the Google Sheets, like they're a step behind that, right? So it's like an @Gmail account that goes to Pete and he answers them. And so like, I was like, how's it going after the Tim show? Are you guys just like crushing it right now? And he's like, my life is ruined. It's like every hypochondriac who's like self-diagnosed and read like, listened to 40 hours of Huberman podcasts and telling me about the anatomy of their knee. And so like, okay, it's not surprising to hear that, but I thought it would have been like the exact opposite. Well, our sales didn't go up if that makes you feel any better, So,
yeah. All right.
I was hoping,
Yeah, I know. Man.
Maybe next book. Yeah, so you got to be, you obviously, it sounds like you talk with the Hormozis a lot. And so they've had a lot of success publishing. You're obviously on the content grind. You got a team helping you. Like, when's the next gym specific book coming out?
Oh man, I've been mulling this one for a little bit. I don't know yet, but I do see if I did it, it would need to be I would either write my own, which would be very difficult because number one, I'm not a great writer. So that would be very hard right away. But it would also be, a lot of it would be built from what Alex has created. So if I did it, it would have to be something that he would be willing to support. And right now it's not a big deal for us. So like, I'm not going to go out and write a Gym Launch Secrets 2.0. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to do that, or second edition, because that's Alex's book. It's his name. And I would never do that. So right now, I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of good books out there, but like, it's funny, like Gym Launch Secrets still fits. Like if anyone picks it up right now, you can go grab it and you read it. It's applicable right now to any gym out there. We're in the process of getting the book into the hands of every gym owner in America. So
that cold outreach, the fourth pillar. And so we've actually, funny you brought that up. So we co-partner in a group called Gym Owners United Facebook group. And so since the book came out, there's been more questions coming out about the strategies in it. And one of the ones that has been coming up more frequently that I'm kind of surprised about is cold outreach. So a lot of people want to try cold outreach. My gut feeling is like, that seems like the worst idea for like a struggling gym owner to do. Like, do you guys have a stance on it?
I can just say it. Yeah. If your LTV isn't $10,000, at least $10,000, it's not worth it. So like, and by cold outreach, I mean true, like you're cold calling or sending a whole bunch of different, like if your LTV is not at least $10,000, don't do it. You will lose your ass on it.
They're also, it's like, where do I buy these lists? And I was like, oh my God, if you just knew how hard this was to do and how much
how are you?
spend
Is this Sally? Do you want to come try personal training at my gym? I'm just down the block.
Dude, it took us 6 months of every single day trying to figure out what was going on. 6 months to just actually, I know he showed like the sales creeping up, but like that doesn't tell the story of like how bad it was, like grind. I mean, there wasn't a week that went by where Alex and I are on a call and we're like, should we just like pack it in? We'll give it another week. And it's like, should we just pack it in? We'll give it another week. Oh, we got a sale. Great. And then it's like 2 weeks later. Well, should we just pack it in? No, let's give it another week and see. Right. Just going back and forth. And it's just, I mean, it blows. And truly the metric is if you don't have an LTV of $10,000 or more, don't do it. It's a waste of time. Now you could just DM people, post content, reply to comments. Like here's something that I don't understand why people do. Here's a free one. If you run ads or you post content, reply to every single effing comment on there and have a conversation with them and DM them. Start a conversation, and you will get way more scheduled appointments, leads, and closes if you just did that. Just do that. That should be your cold outreach.
Yeah, I mean that basically is. I mean, for the most part, and I think
isn't that warm? Wouldn't that be that's warm?
It's warmish.
It's warmer. It's warmer.
Well, it's way better than like what people are like. Hey, what's the best service to go get a list for?
100%.
Like, that's what they're asking in the groups, and I'm like,
and that's my point.
None of them.
Do what Cale just said.
You're not
don't do cold outreach.
$50 million company.
Yeah. The only people that should do cold outreach are big franchises that are corporately owned. Those are the only ones because they can run it, because they can actually spread out the costs across multiple and centralize their calling or email or like mailers, and they can centralize it and make it a lot easier.
Or I imagine some of these places have like commercial, like TV commercial. They've heard of them. So if you get a call from them, it's not like totally weird, but like no one's heard of your, garage gym in the warehouse, like down the street. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. Exactly. So you heard it from the inside guy. Don't do cold outreach. It's a terrible idea, gym owners.
Please don't. Please don't. Don't waste your money or your time. You'll get more gray hair than I have, and you'll hate your life.
So we've kind of touched on a lot of things, but I guess in summation, what is next for Gym Launch? What's next for you? If it's not a book, what's next?
Our goal is to just continue to build and help gym owners reach more people, change more lives, and build wildly profitable businesses. That's our mission. Our goal is to build an incredible ecosystem that just helps gym owners accomplish that. So for me, it's figuring out how to become a better leader, how to build a business that exits at multiple hundreds of millions and play that game and see if we can even do it. If we can't, cool. If we can, great. It's just trying to learn a new game. Like 2017, I was a gym owner. 2018, I was a gym owner. I sold my gym in 2019. And now I'm here having conversations about trying to sell a business, a portfolio for $200, $300 million. And so it's just keep playing that game. That's it. So we just want to help as many gym owners around the world as we possibly can.
So where do people go if they want to find out more about you?
The regular obligatory question. I love it. That was great. That was awesome. You can find me on social media. All my social handles are at Cale Owen, C-A-L-E. It's like the leafy green, just spelled with a C. Owen, Cale Owen. You can find me Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. If you want to find out more about Gym Launch, go to gymlaunch.com. We have a bunch of freebies. So this is for anyone that's listening. If you just want free stuff to learn, we have a ton of free information. Our goal is to put out a ton of free information that's better than everybody else's paid. Outside of a few people, there's some incredible people. You guys are partnered with one who I respect very highly. And if you guys want free, go to gymlaunch.com. You can also follow us on all social media, Gym Launch, all that stuff. And then, that's it.
You heard it here, folks. That's all for Gym World Worldwide. Be sure to dislike, unsubscribe, leave a hateful comment, and tell Cale how much of a scam and house of cards Gym Launch is.